Okay, let's start the next session. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our third plenary session, for our next plenary session on smart, sustainable, and inclusive cities, let me introduce the moderator, Professor Kapsung Kim. Professor Kim is a professor at Yonsei University's Department of Urban Planning and Engineering, and he also acts as the vice president for the university's planning and development. So, Professor Kim, the stage is all yours.
Okay, I'm very honored to be a moderator of this session. The main top title of the 2023 GEEF is Turning Point from the Crisis into Opportunity. During the last 3 years, we lost lots of opportunity for the prosperity of community and individuals because of the pandemic. Taking off the mask and attending the conference is very fantastic. Today's topic is smart and sustainable and inclusive city. Maybe these themes are very popular one in the city scholars. Last year we discussed smart city and ESG, and also we talk about the smart city indexes. This time the session went a little deeper and focused on smart and sustainable and inclusive cities. As you know, the world's population are constantly increasing in urban areas. However, we cannot solve many problems, such as traffic congestion, air pollution, crime, overcrowding, even pandemic situations. If we can reduce these problems, the residents would be happier and healthier, and they want to live in the city. We can find a way in a digital revolution. The SDG 11 says intelligent urban planning that creates safe, affordable, and resilient cities with green and culturally inspiring living conditions. It is very related to the sustainable city. People's participation in planning is very important. Now we emphasize the participation of various stakeholders in the planning processes. So I hope we discuss these challenges and share opinions and insights regarding these issues. We invite distinguished speakers and panelists. As a speaker, Dr. Jong-Suk Park. She is the Secretary General, WeGo Smart Sustainable Cities Organization. And the next is Mr. Primala Jayasekara, the State Minister for Ports and Aviation, Sri Lanka. Please give a big applause. Yeah. Also, we have 3 panelists. 2 of them are joined online. First of all, Professor Daniel Oh. He is a professor, Department of Architecture, Department of Smart City, Goryeo University. Yeah. And Professor Dong-Kyu Kim, he is a professor at University of Glasgow, United Kingdom. Okay. And the last panelist is Dr. Miri Byun. She is a director of City Diplomacy Research Center, Seoul Institute. Okay, so we have plenty of time, I think, so we can discuss very deeply. Each speaker can speak about 15 to 20 minutes, and after the panel presentation, each panelist discuss about 10 minutes at the first round, and maybe we can have some questions and further discussions. Okay, so first of all, Dr. Park, please give your speech. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction, Professor Kapsung Kim. Actually, this is a really honor for me to participate in such a meaningful event, especially 25 years I studied in this campus to get a master's degree. So this occasion is a really honor to present, to share this important topic together. And also, I'm very happy to be part of this fruitful session and very insightful forum because, as you know, for last 3 years, we have not had the opportunity to meet each other in person. So this occasion is very precious for us. So my presentation is about human-centered smart city beyond the technology. I want to start my presentation focusing on relationship between pandemic and human-centered smart city. Some people may believe that the past 3 years has been lost, but I believe that the pandemic has allowed us to reflect and recognize something very significant. If our smartness was built only technology, it can be no longer sustainable unless it is human-centered. To find the solution for building and promoting smart, sustainable, and inclusive cities. Also, the theme of today's session is the precise mission of WIGO, which is clearly shown through WIGO's structure and project. So, I would like to introduce briefly about our organization, WIGO. WIGO was established 13 years ago, founded by 50 member cities, starting with the name of World E-Government. So our acronym is WIGO. So at that time, the president city of WIGO, Seoul Metropolitan Government, strive to lead the cooperation among global city leaders to shape the framework of governance with the importance of ICT and incorporation of ICT. In essence, ICT governance became the global agenda. As such, WIGO shared the way to improvement project and make policy using ICT with public officials and local governments. In other words, it becomes an agreement among cities and institutions to disseminate this agenda that allows us to meet our goals. But it was realized shortly the government only alone cannot work toward achieving this goal. It is with the engagement of corporations and with the technology and solutions to solve the urban challenges cities face. So our organization invite cooperations with the solution providers and institutions like regional and national institutions. So consequently, WIGO has transformed into advocate public-private partnership, expanding our members to include the necessary stakeholders and partners. And next, if I give you a very successful example of WIGO's work, WIGO's most important mission is to provide the platform for our members and partners. One of WIGO's flagship program is our Solution Meets Cities seminar, where member cities share their current urban problems and challenges and connect with the strategic partners who can help them design and develop and implement customized solution and for the specific needs. Throughout this kind of a process, WIGO also aims to identify eligible funds for our project to come true through matchmaking. This is where the application of technology plays a significant role. As developed cities have experienced the challenges throughout the stage of urban development, they can also share the solution that use advanced technology to overcome them with developing cities. This is what WIGO stands for. So WIGO changed its name of World Sustainable Smart City Organization. The fourth industrial revolution arose, and then the term of smart city became a part of our lifestyle. And it led to evolving from e-government to ICT-based public service. So therefore, if sustainability is not secure, smart city couldn't exist. This goes along with today's theme and what is smartness in today's generation. I want to start by discussing the smart city in third international and industrial revolution from Joseph Nye's theory. It is the balance between hard power and soft power. Soft power is not using coercion or payment for cooperation. And the combination of soft power and hard power we'll call the smart power. So the advent of the fourth industrial era is very dramatic. A few days ago, as you know, Davos Forum 2023 was held in Davos. I met Klaus Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum, when he was visiting in Korea right after publishing his book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution. At that time, the concept of the fourth industrial revolution was unfamiliar with us. The integration of big data and implementing AI into our lifestyle and IoT becoming common looks like a movie. And however, ironically, during the pandemic, the topic of discussion of some experts become a part of a daily life overnight for our ordinary people's life, regardless of being rich or poor, and educated or not, young or old. And AR, VR, and metaverse is no longer the far future. So 2 weeks ago, Meta Seoul, launched by the Seoul Metropolitan Government, grabbed global attention as well, such as the solution in the fourth industrial revolution have become a critical element in city governance. So if we look into the city governance, the identity of a citizen is most important than ever in governance. What is the governance? It is the stakeholders taking responsibility and making decisions with transparency to achieve a common goal within the given resources. For sustainable governance, the design has to make sure every single citizen benefit from the policy. As the connected era accelerated, the digital divide will widen, and the unprivileged who used offline public services, digitalization will create polarization. Therefore, digital ID, comprehensive service, and ethical protocol are emerging. So everyone is aware of how social problems occur first in cyber environment and then in real life. Fake transaction, fake news, and sexual crime, and financial fraud, etc. Everything starts from the fake identity in cyber world. So last year, WIGO opened a forum emphasizing the importance of a digital ID and digital ethics. and now underlining ESG concept in the cyber environment. Several corporations and many solution provider and tech companies shows us their interest and started to join with the excitement. This will be a crucial agenda for Uyghur and world society nowadays. And I would like to make attention inclusive city now. As witnesses during the pandemic, disaster don't strike suddenly. There is always a functioning alarm. For example, I had the opportunity to work at Kavi Alliance for 10 years, become joining Uyghur. And the most difficult aspect for me was notifying the agenda to the government to set up preventive methodology or measures and financial entities to design innovative funding methodology. And pharmaceutical companies to creating eligible vaccine platform as much as possible when indications of a pandemic were appealing. Smart city situation is exactly same. We have a look the warning. SDG 11 emphasizes intelligent urban planning that create safe, affordable, and resilient city with green and culturally inspiring living conditions. This is a kind of alarm. This year, I selected Uyghur's agenda as a smart city, no longer technology or ICT policies, but culture. Work, food, health, medical care, transportation, and telecommunication, environment, architecture, education, art, tourism, etc., all of which can be applied to our lifestyle and through smart city solutions. As the world faces intensified challenges, as environmental tensions grow, populations age and urbanized, and wealth and consumption increase, it has become more important to address these challenges using a holistic and smart approach. In every sector of today's society, ranging from the economy, education, infrastructure, governance, welfare, environment, tourism, media, and to art, policy implementation is not possible without the smart city technology and mechanism. So nowadays, smart city development is increasingly turning its attention to establishing the software and contents of a smart city. If culture is defined as what we repeatedly do, the smart city is no longer a simple application of technology to solve urban issues. Smart city framework has become a culture in itself for the life of citizens now. To find the answer, scientific innovation and implementing human-centered smart city is pressing. We need to build a smart city that eliminate the digital gap, digital divide, and not have no one left behind. This is the reason why we started a new initiative this year for the sake of inclusive cities. Partnering with the Seoul Metropolitan Government, the President City of Uyghur, we are launch a prize that recognizes citizen-centric smart city, human-centered smart city, that reduce the digital gap to be more inclusive smart city among cities and application of innovative technology and for individuals' leadership as well. This prize will not be given to the first place in smart city, but will be appreciation and encouragement for the city and technology going forward toward inclusive smart city. So I am looking forward to your support and participating this prize. So I am looking forward to work with closely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Park delivered the importance of the people's participation in the city and what is the WeGo. I heard from her the members are almost 150 cities are involved in WeGo organization. And digital ethics and cyber security, even he introduced Seoul Smart City Prize, so you can apply.
Thank you.
Okay,
very much.
thank you very much for your devotion. And next speaker, the honored state minister for ports and aviation. So you can give a speech.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be a part in Forum 2023, and especially appreciate former Secretary General of UN Ban Ki-moon and President of Yonsei University's Sashion Hwan and the VIP members. It is a privilege for me to represent Sri Lanka at the Global Engagement and Empowerment Forum 2023. Sri Lanka looks forward to closely working with you and your team the years ahead. We meet a time of great perils for our worlds. Inflation, conflicts, poverty, climate, catastrophe, and ongoing effect of the global economy. Countries are struggling to recover from a crisis that is not seen in a generation. Excellencies, with the significant political, economic, and social changes that has taken place in Sri Lanka due to prolonged social unrest and protests in the country, Sri Lankans believe that this is the best time to step forward with the collective vision to create a sustainable and prosperous future. For Sri Lankans to come back stronger as a nation. In the journey of reestablishment as a nation, we expect with pleasure the support and cooperation of the international community. Excellencies, turning towards the theme of GEEF 2023, which goes along with SDG 11 Smart, Sustainable and Inclusive Cities. Smart, sustainable and inclusive cities are areas that use technology and data to improve the living standard of residents, but on least impact on the environment, while promotion equity to ensure that every resident have opportunity to approach service and opportunities they need to thrive. Sri Lanka being developing, which is going through an economic crisis. People living in both urban and rural areas are suffering for their daily livelihood. Therefore, Sri Lankans' journey towards smart, sustainable and inclusive cities should initially address the development of infrastructure, healthcare service, quality education and other services, especially in rural areas. Paying attention towards smart cities. Smart city is a city that really on digital technologies and digital analytics to improve the quality of living, enhance city service efficiency, and from a more livable and sustainable environment. Sri Lanka is an upcoming nation and has been working on smart city development project in the recent years. Colombo Port City project, Colombo Innovation Tower, Malame Tech City, Kandy City Center, Jaffna Smart City are few that could be highlighted. Jaffna Smart City could be considered as a good initiative. Seen its smart city project, which consists of residential units, research and development facilities, and offer premises in the northern region of the island that is totally away from the country's capital. Smart city project have contribute to our nation's sustainable development through efficient use of resources, sustainable of the environment, development of the economy, and social sustainability. Another key area to be addressed is sustainable cities or sustainable development. Sustainable city is a city that is planned, built, and governed to minimize its environmental impact while ensuring the prospects and well-being of the resident. Energy efficiency, research, conservation, environmental protection, and socio-economic vitality are the major traits of a sustainable city. In the recent years, Sri Lanka has made a significant progress in sustainable development with a number of initiatives and programs to uplift sustainable development. Establishment of national parks, conservation of forests and wetland, the promotion of renewable energy sources and program followed for environment protection could be presented as some of them. Sri Lanka's ongoing projects in the journey to sustainable solar power generation, water conservation management, sustainable transportation, sustainable waste management, and sustainable agriculture. Most of the Sri Lankan cities are still at the initial stage in the path of becoming a sustainable city. But as a nation, we have experienced economic development, environment protection, social and cultural benefits, empowered quality of life to a considerable as the outcomes of sustainable development project within the country. The next major highlights on the theme is inclusiveness, inclusive development is an economic development process that includes every member of the society and promotes quality, economic and social justice. Inclusive development also involves participation of every stakeholder in decision making and outcomes of development are quality available to every member of the community, including disadvantaged and marginalized people. Since in Sri Lanka consists of a diverse population with a vast range of socio-economic background. Inclusiveness is a significant goal in sustainable development. Inclusive strategy followed by Sri Lanka are poverty reduction, education initiatives, economic politics, and social protectors. But the initiatives taken must be more empowered to achieve 2030 agenda of sustainable development. The last few minutes of my speech was on the theme of the conference and Sri Lanka initiatives to grow with them. It could be obviously figures out that most of the programs initiated in Sri Lanka are not powerful enough to drive the country towards a sustainable nation, since those are mostly limited to urban areas. Currently, the Sri Lanka government is in the process of securing the country from the economic crisis, which has cased most of the development projects that were ongoing. As a government, if we could implement potential rural projects in the country that would add a significant value to the livelihood of the nation. So permit me to briefly turn to the potential rural development project that could uplift Sri Lanka. One of the best projects that suits for the sustainable development and to overcome from the current crisis in agriculture development. Project to promote sustainable farming practices increase access to the market, to improve crop yield, would make an extreme boost in the rural income and reduce poverty. Potential agriculture projects would not give a boost to the rural community, but also to the entire nation in the comeback, since Sri Lanka would get the opportunity to decrease agriculture import and increase export by creating the international market through commercial crops and surpluses of the essential. The next best initiatives that should be taken in Sri Lanka infrastructure development. Infrastructure project to develop roads, bridges and other infrastructure of the nation could help to connect rural communities to market and services and improve access to education and health care. Infrastructure initiatives interconnect all the needful bodies, leveling up the living standard of Sri Lankans. Central Expressway could be listed in the top of ongoing projects, seen it's going to make a massive positive impact in all the sectors of the country. Education is the key area that should be developed to increase standard of any nation. Therefore, projects to improve access to education, such as building new school, training teachers, match with the current requirement of the world, would help to increase literacy rates and improve long-term prospect for rural communities. By the initiative as a nation, we should put our best to export the learners of the highest ranked school and most rural school to the same level of education, which would prepare Sri Lanka rural community for a better future. Healthcare is also a major sector that should be addressed in rural development. Sri Lanka health sector could be standardized in rural area by improving access to education, by building new hospital facilities, introducing new health service, and by regular awareness programs to decrease mortality and mobility rates. Suicide ambulance service, which was found by India on grant basis, is a similar project with a massive success since its inauguration. For all the above mentioned project to success, economic development projects should be initiated in rural areas. Economic growth could be stimulated and new job opportunities could be created in rural areas. By project to increase access to financial and credit services and promotion small businesses. This initiative is giving an ultra boost to the economy of every Lanka rural area. She exported development program is an ongoing project that supports small and medium enterprises to reach the international market. Therefore, to lay the foundation for Sri Lanka to embark of the journey of smart, sustainable and inclusive cities, initiators of rural development projects should be initiated. We look forward to the cooperation and support of the international community and including United Nations, and GEEF to build a prosperous and sustainable Sri Lanka. Despite several challenges, we will endeavor to maintain the significant program we have made towards achieve 2030 agenda on sustainable development. Thank you. 안녕하세요.
Okay, thank you very much for your speech. He delivered the opinions regarding smart and sustainable and inclusive cities, and also he showed lots of the examples of Sri Lanka. And I'm very impressed with the community's effort and his comments on the rural areas. Maybe the smart city technology should be deployed in rural areas rather than urban areas. Cities still enough smart. Okay, so let's listen to the panelists' opinions. So first of all, I want to invite the Professor Daniel Oh, and can you give us some comments on this topic? 소리가 안 들리네.
Hello, sorry, my microphone was muted. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm honored to give this opportunity to share my humble views and experience in this meaningful event. I've been involved with Smart City for the last 5 to 7 years, and more I get involved with talking about sustainability and smart city. I'm a little bit skeptical of the promises that we're giving to the public, and also maybe we take it as if it's a silver bullet in solving all the problems and issues of our urban environment. Which I think at the end of the day, we create this sort of characterization of our roles as being providers of infrastructure as well as solutions. And the citizens become the consumers of whatever we provide and what we build. I think this sort of dichotomy between the two roles create tension. And I think what we mean by sustainability is such an abstract word. And what we say about smart city that's gonna unroll or deliver a sustainable cities or sustainable development is such it could be a false hope to everyone. I say that because a lot of times when we hear a presentation from City of Seoul, for example, or just like today, we hear a presentation from a developing country, even though we're talking about same things, same wording, same topic, same content, same the strategies, at the same time, we live in a very, very different worlds. Not only physical environment, but socially and economically, very, very different worlds. And we're all talking about the same things, but then at the same time, we're talking about completely different systems, policies, frameworks that control our environment and development. So one of the things that I've been really thinking about for the past couple of years is that we should maybe think about how to build smart citizens. People who are equipped with, as the title of the forum suggests, empower them to make them build their own city. They should be engaged in the planning and design and delivery of our cities. That should be the goal, not the goal of providing a very smart, intelligent, digitally connected city. That's an ideal scenario. But if the consumer or the users are not partaking in the process, we will always have this conundrum of providing services where the citizens become the consumers of the service, which I think inevitably will create a gaps in expectation, gaps in the transfer of knowledge and transfer of the empowerment of delivering such development. So I think when we talk about sustainability as well as smart city, we have to be very careful in what we're trying to do. We're not trying to make sure that all the light switches are connected so that we save 1 kilowatt. It's more about, we should make the users switch off when it's not in use. It's more about the behavioral problems when it comes to sustainability, rather than focusing the sustainability on the physical, sort of more permanent environment that we're building. That's only a very fraction of the problem that we create today. So I think we have to build a world of citizens, global citizens, who are much more connected to the environment, natural environment, as well as the urban environment, that we are responsible, we are taking charge in what we're doing is implementing or having an impact in our world, a shared world. So by background, I'm coming from an urban design, urban planner, and I've been working in China, in Asia, in Middle East, in Europe, in UK, and also in the States before coming to Korea. And so I've been sort of seeing how urban development happens, and I was at the forefront of making all these designing and planning of these developments. So in a way, it was simpler because if we design and plan and sort of rolled out and it gets built, but it was much more linear process. We do talk about a comprehensive planning, visioning, create a set of scenarios, you test it, and it all happens on your desk or computer. You can use CAD and other tools to make it a little bit more, I would say, smart as much as you can. But at the same time, the planner and designer are limited in terms of information, in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the local knowledge that we have. But I think we still do design as is, and in academia and in the industry, sort of think tanks, we developed different ways of projecting what we do in the future. But now I think it's time to make sure that that projection meets the planning and design, and also we have to think in a way that it's not anymore a linear process, not someone designing, building, and then people occupying. We have to think about much more, it's more complex. It's something that we as experts in developing a city cannot have all the data. Even if you have the data, it's impossible for a group of people have given a task to build a city, it should be more a collective process. It should be more of a more of a dialogue that happens not only in the developed countries, but in the developing countries. Because that's when it really shines. This set of tools, set of mechanisms, set of frameworks, that is not, it can help the developing countries, but it can also fundamentally change how we plan, design, and deliver a sustainable city. I've been spending my sabbatical year in Barcelona, Spain, and I just want to give you one example. One day I was taking my daughter to nursery, and there was huge traffic. There was a traffic jam. And I didn't know what it was, but there were police cars in the front and back. In the middle, there were about 20 kids on a bicycle with parents, and they were wearing a little reflective green vest saying BC bus. So it's a bicycle bus, but it's a collection of kids on a bicycle. And they're showing that it's a group of kids going to school on a bicycle. It's such a nice message that I thought this is a smart citizens. They're taking charge in making the solution, making what counts as a public welfare. And people respecting it. The police are escorting them to the school. And the people who are behind, they're not honking. They're not honking at them. They're patiently waiting and thinking about what happens if I leave my car at home and take subway. Right? So we all share our public space. We all share our public services. But a lot of times when we're given all this data, we throw it out there as if it's not my problem. It's not my duty to think about all these complex issues. But we have to make citizens take care of these issues and participate in looking for the solutions. I would like to end at that and maybe ask for more questions or
Okay.
discussions from the panelists.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So the next panelist is Professor Dong-Hyuk Kim, from the Glasgow.
Hello, I'd like to share my screen. Can you see my screens?
Sure.
First of all, it is great privilege to be involved in this world-leading conference with distinguished speakers and panelists. I'm currently working at the University of Glasgow as a senior lecturer in strategy and technology management. And today I'd like to share the experience of Glasgow City in terms of smart city approach. And we can identify, hopefully we can identify some common structural condition issues that can resonate with the local context of other countries such as South Korea and Sri Lanka. This is the Smart City Scotland Blueprint, which has been published in 2016. And as you can see, there are 4 goals and objectives. And one is sustainability, another is inclusiveness, another is data transparency and technology. So as you can see, from the beginning, the Scotland highly emphasized the importance of sustainability and the inclusiveness. And this is the map on the right side. This is map of the Scotland. And as you can see, we have 2 different areas. One is the lowland and another is highlands. In the lowlands, we have 2 large cities, One is Glasgow, another is Edinburgh. And the upper area, we have a more rural area called Highland, and there are many different cities are involved in these smart city projects. Today, we'd like to focus on the Glasgow, which I'm currently living. And one of the important characteristics you can identify the way this blueprint has been created. This is coming from more like bottom-up workshop approach. So this is a typical example of multi-stakeholder participation. So different experts has been engaged in this creating this strategy plan. And as you can see, they put a little sticky note and discuss the idea so everyone can see other people's idea, share knowledge, and also create some kind of figure to create the future plan. So I can say this is kind of typical example of how the Scotland creating the strategic plan. Let's briefly talk about the background history of Glasgow. So Glasgow is in terms of population, this is the largest city in Scotland. And Greater Glasgow, we have over 1 million people living in an urban area. And probably we're going to say that this is the fourth or fifth largest cities in the UK. And this has been one of the most interactive places, particularly at the heart of the UK Industrial Revolution and colonial expansion. So as you can see, on the map of Glasgow, the river was a flow across the city. And this is a typical example of port city. And then State Minister Jaya Sekara briefly mentioned the importance of port city projects. So hopefully there are some kind of similar structural conditions that you can identify between the Glasgow and the Sri Lanka port city. One thing that I would like to highlight is that this River Clyde has played a very important role in the growth of the Glasgow. And still, the Glasgow people want to regenerate districts around the river sides. And so that is very important, how the people can utilize the natural landscape. Glasgow had a very good, wonderful day back in 17, 18, 19th centuries, but it started to fall behind, particularly in the post-war period, because of the myriad rise of East Asian countries such as Japan, South Korea, China. So these industries start to decline, particularly shipbuilding industries. So now the city of Glasgow want to regenerate the districts using the smart city projects starting in 2016. So they were awarded 24 million program from the Innovate UK to become the world's leading smart city. And then they claim, self-claim that their ROI, the return on investment, is 5 times more. It's more around the 150 millions. So the way they calculate it is how this intelligent city lighting system result in this great energy reductions, and they also initiate the operating centers to optimize the traffic data and all other usage of data, and centralize them and provide the new services. And also they publicly share the data with the other people to create more services on the app. And one of the elements that you can see, the city of Glasgow highly emphasize social transport. So social transport means they are focusing on people with physical challenges, so how they can improve the conditions for those peoples. So these projects has included from the very early stage. And as you probably some of you know, the city of Glasgow has hosted the UN Climate Change Conference in 2021, COP26. It shows how much that Glasgow people are focused on the environment sustainability. So this is one of the example, intelligent street lighting systems. So these intelligent street lighting system is all connected to the central management system. So all the sensors can identify the objects, so they can see the demands So real time, they can control the demands in order to avoid any waste of usage of the energy. One more trend you can see is this integration of other technology in the lighting systems. So not only they are connected to the wireless communication network, but also they try to install the EV charging points. So electric vehicle, it becomes a very important issue in the city of Glasgow. They want to provide some kind of infrastructure for EV charging by integrating the lighting system with the communication network. I'm not really sure this is how much effective to integrate this, but as you can see, one of the interesting trends that is they try to combine all different technology together in one the objects. And also these lighting system can monitor the air pollutions, and also they can identify all different objects like cars, cyclists, pedestrians. This is an example of the city lighting system installed in the street, Salthill Street. This is a street connecting the West End and the city center of the Glasgow. And as you can see, this city has a very interesting feature that not only this is designed for the car, but also this is for the cyclists and the pedestrians. So these people, this is placed where these all different objects, all the peoples work together. And one thing they emphasize, this is not about safety. It is about safety, but on top of it, they try to add this more beauty in life. So try to make more beautiful in that way. People can appreciate the landscape of the Glasgow. So the Glasgow try to emphasize the important role of the culture, the player. And one other example is the My Glasgow app. So they create the Glasgow app. The citizens can download this app, and this enables citizens to directly report the issues to the Glasgow city center. So that issues include pothole, broken parking meter, broken city light, street lights, missed bin collectors, illegal waste dumping, illegal flying posts, and etc. And one of the issues that Glasgow frequently have, is potholes. So on the right side, you can see the Glasgow city's road workers fix the 200 potholes a day. So this is a very frequent problem in Glasgow. And these people are engaged to report the pothole they identify, and city council try to quickly respond to these issues. But I would like to point out in the discussion whether this type of reactive approach is enough, because still we have huge problem with the potholes. Right? So this is more ad hoc solutions. This does not really provide the more fundamental long-term solutions of it. So the city of Glasgow needs to think about in a long-term approach how proactively address these problems using more digital technologies, such as AI to identify the road condition, maintain they can predict the life cycle of the roads infrastructures, and if they start to come to the end of their life cycle, maybe they can proactively change the roads instead of reporting to the problems. This is another example, participatory planning, and this which is the Professor O highly emphasized the citizen-led approach. And this is the example of the public-private partnerships that Secretary General Park mentions. So this is kind of project has been initiated by the private company, but on behalf of the publics. And these companies collaborate with the other type of companies that they create consortium. And from the very early planning process, they try to collect people's idea by going into the street, online engagements, so local people suggest their ideas, so they identify place-based identities and the opportunities, threats, attractions, green space, public interfaces. So they try to collect these people ideas and perceptions. And that directly lead to the district developments. And through this process, these citizens are aware of the issues, and they start to have more growing interest in the city development, and they want to engage more over time. So this is a typical example of how Glasgow want to use participatory planning in the city development process. And one of the aspects I would like to briefly highlight is the Glasgow, they emphasize the children's right. This is something slightly different from South Korea. South Korea, we are emphasizing yoga, so raising kids more from the parents' perspective, but we don't really approach the issues from the children's perspective. But in Glasgow, they try to see the children as a more independent, becoming independent adults. So they need to raise their own voice. So they try to provide the opportunity for children to raise their own voice about their own rights, because one of those regulations usually directly affects the future life of those young children generations. So this is another focus that Glasgow highly try to emphasize. And they took more systematic approach using the different scales. So there's small size projects, medium size projects, and large size projects. So the small size projects more focusing on the street level, and medium size is more focusing on the neighborhood, and then the large size project is more focused on citywide impact. And they try to streamline all these different plans and create a more coherent strategic plans. So usually the citizen-led approach is highly emphasized in this more small size project, particularly focusing on the streets, alleys, because these people has more expertise on this particular streets, history, experience, and then top-down approach is more used in this large size project. So Glasgow is trying to combine these two different approaches together. One of the aspects I would like to highlight is the district regeneration. As I said before, the Glasgow used to become one of the world's leading cities, but now their status has been lagging behind. So they want to regenerate their city's status by renewing and reusing the legacy infrastructures. And then one of the problems that Glasgow face is these all different infrastructure, particularly legacy infrastructures, was designed for the other objects such as car. So as you can see, this is a motorway. It's connecting to the city center. And then this is a highly complicated. So that actually disrupt the people's walking distance area. So what they want is get rid of this infrastructure motorway, which was designed for car. Now try to put more roundabout infrastructure, and that way the people have a more safe place to walk. Because particularly this is the area connecting this west end and the city center, which are the highly populated areas. So this will increase people's walkings and the density in the cities. And one of the examples is the Kingston Bridge viaduct. And what you can see under the bridge, these places has been utilized for parking spaces. So that doesn't really look good. But what the city of Glasgow want to do in the future is they change this place for the people. So where people can avoid the rains and do some kind of engagement. So in that way, they can actually walk, right? Because this place has been used for the public spaces that actually disrupt the people's walking paths from the west end to east end. So now they want to change it to the more walkable streets. So one thing that we can learn is the city of Glasgow want to reuse the legacy infrastructures to redesign the points for the people. And one of the elements that we can emphasize is the revitalizing the old city centers. So Glasgow has two different city centers, high streets. One is the high street highly centered around this Glasgow Cathedral. And previously that was the high street, but after the city developments, there's a new high streets, particularly surrounded by the shopping malls, subway stations. These are the development area that actually led to the decline of the old city centers. What Glasgow want to do is revitalize these old city centers because these places embedded with the historical narratives. And so they want to utilize cultural heritage to attract people, making new meanings in the places. So basically they use the past to shape the future. So this is some of the points that we can consider as a discussion. So one of the trends, as you can see, is the integration of the IoT and AI. And then the Secretary General Park briefly mentioned the importance of the digital ethics. And this is very important issues in Glasgow as well. So we need ethical guidelines of the data use. So for example, there are a lot of CCTV, and this CCTV has been use AI technology to automatically identify people objects. So that is one of the guidelines should be included is a non-automatic identification of personal information in the CCTVs. Another important issue is the disposal of the data after a certain period. So City of Glasgow want to impose these rules. So these sensors, once they collect the data, they cannot store the data for a long period. So they have to dispose the data. And then one other element that I'd like to highlight is that's great that the citizens directly reporting the issues to the city council. But in my view, this is more reactive approach. So what we need is a more proactive approach using the technology to foresee what is coming, right? So Secretary General Park briefly mentioned raised this voice that what is smartness? And then she pointed out it is centered around the people. Yes, absolutely, I 100% agree. But I'd like to add another angle is that this is about smartness is about looking around your neighborhood as well as the looking ahead, right? So these two different angles has to be worked together. And then, as I mentioned, this Glasgow want to conduct this initiative, including participatory planning, more like citizen-led approach. But in my view, this can be one-off projects, so it has to be more continuous engagement, right? Usually, citizens' opinion are included in the early stage of design. Over time, when execute the plan, citizens' voice does not necessarily included in here. So it has to be more like a continuous feedback process that the citizens continue to engage in the even in the execution process of the planning. And one other brief elements that we can think about is that all cultural heritage worth preserving, because City of Glasgow want to revitalize old city centers. That's great efforts, but good question is all cultural heritage history worth preserving? Sometimes some of the history is great, we all proud of it, but some of the histories maybe not. So who's going to select what history? So that is very delicate issues. And one other point is all this experience of developed country transferable to developing countries. Experience of developed countries transferable to developing countries. That's very good questions. And probably a lot of cases is not. So we really need to understand the local context of their countries, each country's face it. But of course, this international collaboration can spark some kind of inspiration. Maybe some of the idea that we can learn from the other countries can be useful. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. So time is limited, but I think we can end up at 30. So you can give your introduce the Seoul practices.
네, thank you for your introduction. 안녕하세요. 저는 서울연구원의 변미리라고 하고요. 저는 도시사회학자입니다. 그래서 오늘 이 세션에서 사실은 스마트 도시라고 하는 것들의 개념들을
And so during this session, we have discussed the concepts of smart city And ultimately, what is smart cities striving to become by becoming smart? In the end, the direction is inclusive city. That seems to be the common direction for many smart cities these days. So when we are thinking about being oriented towards becoming an inclusive city, we will see that it's underlined with social values. Social values for Korean society, because we have gone through a compact period of high growth, we need to create a city for all. So those are the social values underlining inclusive cities in Korea. This social value may be different for different societies. And so we see that although the underlying value may be different, many smart cities are striving to become inclusive cities. I have learned that we are very limited in the time that is left for our session, so I would like to jump to a few examples. In the international society, we can see that many cities wish to become inclusive cities. Projects through UN Habitat, World Bank, or ADB, they have smart city projects, and ever since the 2000s, many of them started to discuss the direction of smart cities from a social value perspective. So whether it be sustainable city or smart cities, ultimately they're striving to become inclusive cities. And so that really is oriented in achieving the vision of inclusive cities. In particular, inclusive cities, they are not just about taking one step further, but it's about becoming very actively inclusive. And so as you see on the slide, World Bank and OECD are emphasizing this. And if we take a deeper look into this, we can see that in the case of World Bank, of course, we listen to the example of Sri Lanka today, but whether it be a developing country or a developed country, smart cities need to be inclusive in terms of geographical inclusiveness and also inclusive for various people and also inclusive economically. And so we see spatial inclusiveness, economic inclusiveness, and social inclusiveness. And these concepts are being expanded. Within the OECD, we are seeing that these concepts are then reflected. Let me skip a few slides here. And so within the OECD, in 2015, they worked with capital cities such as New York and Seoul. So the mayors of these capital cities gathered together to create inclusive cities. And as a result, in 2015, 2016, and 2017, many mayors from Seoul and other capital cities gathered together to discuss how to create smart cities and inclusive cities using various systems and technologies. And they focused on education, making labor markets inclusive, and also making housing inclusive. This means that they wish to cover inclusiveness for areas that have not been considered up until 2015, such as affordable housing and public services. And so all of these discussions were ongoing throughout 2015 to 2017. And so through smart cities, what ultimately needs to be achieved is to increase the inclusiveness of cities, and whether it be developing countries or developed countries, they all need to be inclusive. So we need to create cities that leave no one behind. And that is the discussion that is ongoing around the world these days. It seems that I'm not able to flip through the slides. So let's take a look at how inclusive these cities are. We see that many organizations are also coming with the criteria for being inclusive. In the case of OECD that you see on the slide is talking about the resilience of inclusive cities. So here you can see that they did come up with this set of criteria, And they also took a look at what cities would meet these criteria as inclusive cities. Whether it be New York or London, here are just some examples on the slide. Ultimately, how are we going to strengthen the inclusiveness of cities becomes the goal for many cities. It becomes the vision for many cities. New York has the vision of strong and fair city. So how are they going to implement that vision? This is the vision for London, good growth. And so you can see that by utilizing technologies, they are thinking about how to have good growth for inclusiveness. This is the same for Seoul as well. If we take a look at inclusive cities in Seoul, it's about how to make them sustainable and how to execute policies for inclusive cities. And you can see that discussions on this topic is ongoing. As you can see on the slide, there are keywords that are used: being inclusive for people, also being inclusive in terms of space, and we also take a look at governance. And so how are all these aspects of inclusiveness going to be melted into the cities? And so all of this is being executed through various projects. Being inclusive is now being measured, for example, using figures year on year. And you can see the different criteria and indexes that are being utilized. Here you can see one of the major policies within Seoul Metropolitan City. This is titled Walking with the Vulnerable. So it's about creating a city where all people can have access to. And so Seoul Metropolitan City is actually investing a large portion of their budget for this project. Many people have already mentioned this. During the pandemic, we have seen that crisis makes the vulnerable even more vulnerable. And so if we are a community, we need to create a city where all people can coexist. And so that is why we have this policy to walk with the vulnerable. And so these are the policies that are ongoing from this aspect. Those who are vulnerable could be those who are economically vulnerable, who are medically isolated, who have vulnerabilities in terms of housing or education. So you can see that there are different projects that are related to different types of vulnerabilities. So today, what we are discussing is a turning point, the development of cities at this turning point. So we're going to be utilizing new technologies that we develop, for example, smart technologies, but we need to incorporate these technologies to make our cities more inclusive. And all of these efforts are being made in Seoul and around the world. Thank you very much.
At first, I think that we have lots of time to talk, but time is very limited. And we invited 2 speakers and 3 panelists, but all speak their speeches, I think. So maybe I should finish this one without the discussion. So I'm so sorry about that. So 3 topics: smart city and inclusive city and sustainable city is not a separate one. We can combine all kind of things, and to achieve the smart city, we should have the inclusive and the sustainable city should be combined in that theme. Okay, so maybe we got some ideas from the Glasgow and the Spain's example and other countries' examples, and sharing the ideas and best practices is very important to improve our society. Thank you for the speakers and the panelists to participation, and maybe we can see next year in another session for the smart city. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Professor Kim and panelists. This session gave us great insights into urban planning, into smart cities, and what the future in the Agenda 2030 could actually look like in the urban space. Thank you very much. Another round of applause. And dear ladies and gentlemen, we will take a break, and we do hope to see many of you back at 16:50, so at 4:50 in the Centennial Hall. Thank you.